This rock. This is why every country on Earth suddenly wants to go back to the moon. Okay, so quick question. When's the last time you heard about someone going back to the moon? For 50 years, basically nobody did. We landed in 1969, left some footprints, planted a flag, and then we just stopped. 50 years, empty, dark, ignored. Until now. Because right now, today, the United States, China, India, Japan, South Korea, the UAE, private companies worth billions, they are all pointing rockets at the same target at the same time. So, here's the question that actually matters. Why? The official answer: science. Exploration. Sounds nice, right? Except that's not really it. There's something buried in the moon's soil that could be worth trillions of dollars. There's a strip of land near the South Pole that everyone wants to reach first, and whoever lands there first gets to write the rules for everyone who comes after. This is not a space story, this is a land grab, and it's already happening. So, what actually changed? Let's go back a bit. Lunar orbiters started picking up a strange signal from the moon's South Pole, something we didn't expect. Water, not rivers, not oceans. Frozen water ice, hiding inside craters so deep sunlight has never reached the bottom. Not once, not in billions of years. Think about that for a second. A place on the moon that has been in total darkness since before life even existed on Earth. Then in 2023, India's Chandrayaan-3 rover landed right near the South Pole and it confirmed it. The ice is real. It's actually there. So why does frozen water on the moon matter so much? Here is the twist. Split water into hydrogen and oxygen and you get something else entirely. Rocket fuel. Which means the moon could become a refueling station in space. A gas station. Instead of launching everything from Earth's heavy gravity, future spacecraft could just stop by, fill up, at a fraction of the cost. Space economists actually call this the gas station in the sky. There's a technical name too. ISRU. In-situ resource utilization, which really just means stop shipping everything from Earth, make what you need, using what's already there. Water, oxygen, fuel, mined and processed right on the surface. It changes the entire economics of space. But here's the strange part. The water ice. That's not even what's inside this rock. What's actually in here you've probably never even heard of, and it might be worth more than everything else on the moon combined. It's called helium-3. Say that name, remember it. Because here's how it got there. The sun constantly fires a stream of charged particles into space. We call it the solar wind. On Earth, our magnetic field blocks almost all of it. The moon? No magnetic field, no atmosphere, nothing stopping it. So, for billions of years, the solar wind has been raining down directly onto the surface, embedding helium-3 straight into the soil, into rocks exactly like this one. Now, here is where it gets crazy. Estimates put the moon's total helium-3 reserves somewhere between 615,000 and 3 million tons, and Earth less than 25 tons. So, why should we actually care about this? Helium-3 is one of the cleanest theoretical fuels for nuclear fusion, the energy source that's promised to give humanity basically unlimited clean power for decades. 1 ton of helium-3 in a fusion reactor could produce as much energy as burning 50 million tons of coal. No carbon, no nuclear waste, just energy, and here is everything changes. In mid-2025, the US Department of Energy quietly did something almost nobody noticed. They made the first ever government purchase of an extraterrestrial resource, 3 liters of lunar helium-3. Tiny amount, but massive signal, because Washington is already building the supply chain. Now here's the part that should genuinely worry you. This is not some someday story. While you've been watching this video, right now, 2 of the world's biggest powers are already moving. April 2026, just a few months ago, NASA launched Artemis 2 for astronauts. 10 days, nearly 700,000 miles. They flew farther from Earth than any humans in over 50 years, farther than Apollo 13. It was just a test flight, no landing, not yet. And the next step, a crewed landing at the moon's south pole. Target is early 2028. NASA believes if it falls behind, it never catch up. Meanwhile, China's already answering, and this is not their first move, it's their latest one. Back in June 2024, China's Chang'e 6 mission did something no country had ever done. It landed on the far side of the moon, well, the side we never see from home, and brought samples back. Nobody had ever done that until China did. Now, Chang'e 7, their most complex robotic moon mission yet, already at the launch pad, heading straight for the South Pole. It does something that's never been done. It hops, literally jumps, from sunlight into the permanently shadowed craters nobody has ever entered, drills into the soil, hits the sample, reads exactly what's frozen inside. China's chief lunar designer says their taikonauts will walk on the moon by 2030. His words? That's not a problem. Well, here's the part that puts everything into focus. The moon's south pole is physically limited. The crater rims with constant sunlight for power, the shadowed craters underneath holding the ice. There are only so many of them, and whoever lands, builds, and stays there first effectively owns the real estate. Not legally. Space law says no nation can own the moon, but practically, if your base already running, you control access. Simple as that. And this is exactly where it stops being about rocks and rockets, and it starts being about something else, something closer to a Cold War. So here's what's actually happening. The moon is quietly splitting into two camps. On one side, the Artemis Accords, led by the United States, signed by over 68 countries as of 2026. Japan, Canada, the UK, India, the UAE. It's basically a rule book: share data, avoid conflict, be transparent. On the other side, the International Lunar Research Station, led by China and Russia, backed by Egypt, South Africa, Thailand, Pakistan. The goal? A permanent base at the South Pole by 2035, expanded by 2045. China's already called Artemis Accords, and I am quoting here, akin to colonial land-taking methods. The United States response? That China just wants to write its own rules without anyone else's input. But here's the irony: both sides are heading for the same craters, the same ice, the same helium-3, the same strategic ground. Back in 1967, the world signed a treaty, the Outer Space Treaty. One sentence in it matters more than any other. Space, including the moon, is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation, or by any other means. Translation: no country can own a piece of the moon. So here's the puzzle. How do you build a moon base, mine resources, protect your equipment without technically owning anything? The Artemis Accords have an answer. It's called a safety zone. Here is how it works. Any country landing equipment on the moon can declare a protected area around it to avoid collisions, dust damage, interference. Sounds reasonable, right? Space law scholars say this creates a massive gray area, because what if your safety zone just happens to cover the best water ice deposits and everyone else is expected to respect that zone, right? And is that really different from just claiming the territory? A former head of Russia's space agency compared it to military occupation. Chinese state media call it colonization, just dressed up in legal language. The United States says it's only about avoiding collisions, nothing more. Nobody's tested this in the real world yet. But once multiple countries are running bases a few kilometers apart at the exact same craters, this stops being theoretical. Now here's something that might surprise you. Governments are not the only ones in this race. There's an entire industry forming around this that most people have never even heard of. By the way, there's a calculation. The lunar economy could be worth up to $170 billion by 2040. Other estimates put the broader cislunar economy, which means everything between Earth and the Moon, at over $100 billion in that same window. This is not science fiction funding. This is venture capital, government contracts, publicly traded companies, all betting on the same thing. The Moon is becoming actual infrastructure, not a destination. A place people do business. Here's what I keep coming back to. We talk about the moon like it's still just a symbol, national pride, big rocket, but the decisions being made right now, who lands where, who builds first, who controls the water, the helium-3, the fuel depots, who gets to draw the safety zones, those decisions are going to shape geopolitics for the next 100 years. Think about it. Every mission to Mars, to the asteroid belt, to the other planets, if it needs fuel and the moon is the closest stop, well, it goes through whoever built that gas station, right? We all know that. Those who lead in space will lead on Earth, and that's not poetry. That's a policy statement by NASA. We ignored the moon for 50 years because we thought there was nothing there worth going back for. It turns out it was sitting on trillions of dollars of frozen water, a fuel source that barely exists on Earth, and a legal gray zone nobody's fully worked out. And right now, as you are watching this video, astronauts just flew around it for the first time in a half century. A Chinese spacecraft is on the launch pad, pointed at the same ground NASA wants, and private companies are already building the delivery tracks to get there. The moon is not a museum anymore. It's the most valuable, most contested piece of real estate in the entire solar system. And the race to own it, in every way that actually matters, has already begun. If you want to hear more about what's happening in space, subscribe and tell me in the comments who gets there first, the United States or China, because honestly, I don't know the answer.